In today's video, I'm going to go over my top 10 blushes for 2022 and also my favorite blush brushes. Hey everyone, this is Lisa. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lisa Monique Beauty, where we cover all things beauty and lifestyle for the over 50 woman. So I'm going to go over my most used blushes in 2022. They are not all new releases from 2022, but these are the ones that I've reached for time and time again. A lot of them you've heard of if you've watched my videos over the last year. And then I'm going to talk to you about my favorite blush brushes and why I choose to use each one. So if you don't have the same brand brush, you might look at the different shape for the different reasons that I reach for them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with my top 10 blushes, or most used blushes, favorite blushes, whatever you want to call them, in no particular order. We'll start with the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Blush. You know I've talked about this one a lot. This is in Believe. I might try and do some swatches on my arm. How about that? I also really like the Encourage. So I like both of these shades. And I kind of just go with whatever one I can reach first. Okay, so this one is kind of a plummy shade, and a little goes a long way. So you need to blend this one out. So when I have a blush that I need to blend out, I am going to use a smaller blush brush, like this is a BK Beauty 109. This was one of their newer brushes available in a set of 5. They're essential. It was like their additional essential set, but now they are selling them individually. So this is like a mini foundation brush, and I like the little slope, and it's really good at blending out those cream blushes, getting that really soft edge. So the BK Beauty 109. Okay, my next favorite is the Milani Cheek Kiss. And this one is in this one is in Nude Kiss. Now, Merlot Moment had been a favorite previously. I actually still love them both. But this one is just a little bit lighter. It's probably a little too light for me right now. It kind of has that rosy, a little bit corally undertone. And I will usually dab it on like that, and I will blend it with a flat top, kind of more kabuki brush. This one is my Refer number 17. I've been talking about this brush for 2.5 years, 3 years. This is my favorite, kind of like buffing for cream blushes. Typically, I will do this. I will put it here and then blot it on that way. So that's how I use this brush, and I use it with my cream blushes. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so my third favorite blush is from Lawless, and this is their Indian Summer Make Me Blush. I'm not sure if Lawless is still in Sephora or if you have to just buy it online. It used to actually be in the store, but it might only be online, but I really do love this. So I like to use a soft fluffy brush. This one is my Refer 05. And this is probably my favorite all-purpose cheek brush. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to say blush instead of brush at some point, I'm sure. But I kind of usually do a little tapping motion and then a little swirling in. Now you can see this has a little bit more pink to it. It actually is a little bit lighter. But you can see I have kind of that same berry shade. So a lot of my blushes are going to be in my shades, but of course they come in multiple shades. This is a super long-lasting blush. The Lawless blush is one I reach for when I want to make sure I have blush still on at the end of the day, as well as the Soft Pinch. These are really, oh, you know what? The Milani is an all-day blush too. These are all my all-day blushes. Another thing, I did just recently purchase an Eco Tools brush. I decided I needed to have one, more drugstore to kind of compare. Now I just bought a little kit, and this one probably could be a powder brush or a blush brush. It is definitely softer or less full, less dense, fewer bristles, but I think it also is really good with the powder blushes that you might need a really light application. So we'll just show you on this arm. So I don't know if you can see it. I would need to go in again. So this one actually would be good if you had a really dark blush and you needed to build it up. But because it is so soft and It's synthetic bristles instead of the natural bristles. It doesn't hold onto as much powder as a natural bristle brush does. The natural bristle brushes have a cuticle on them, and like your real hair, so they tend to grip powder more. So this one you're going to have to build up a little bit, but it's very soft. Also, you know, I hate to say it, a dirty brush also tends to hold on to it a little bit more, but it's really soft, and I feel like it's a good brush, or a good size brush for a light wash of color. And I would do it like right here on my face when I just want to, you know, add a little bit extra color up here to the apples. I know some people say don't do the apples of your cheeks when you're over 50. I love the, like, high on the apples, right where your sunglasses sit. Okay, but that is another one of my favorite blushes. Fourth favorite blush is the L'Oreal Age Perfect, and this one is in shade mauve, I say mauve, 405. And I do use this one when I need that plummier, you know, more mauve shade. So once again, I would be using my big brush for something like this. I'm gonna run out of wrist space. You know what? I'm just gonna do I'm gonna start doing dark streaks. I think that would work better. So there is this tone. All right, so my fifth favorite one, I wore this a lot in the summer. This was the Bare Minerals Bronzer in Kiss of Rose. I love this because it has just that little bit of shimmer. It was so beautiful in the summer months. Yeah, I really love this. And because it had kind of that shimmer, I didn't necessarily put it all over my face. So I used a smaller blush brush, like the 110 from BK Beauty. So this one's also good for like contour, but when I have something with a little bit of shimmer and I want to try and keep it in certain areas and not get, I have a little bit larger pores here, so I don't want to put it, you know, up on the front like I do when I just want that kiss of color on my apples, or right above my apples. Then I would use a small brush like the 110. And Rephr has one similar shape. A lot of brushes come in this similar dome shape. And I can put it a little bit, have a little more strategic placement of the bronzer. I will just, really, really pretty. So I also love the NYX Sweet Cheeks, and Bang Bang was the one I used the most. I do have it in another color. I don't even remember which one it is, but it was lighter. It was actually pretty pale. I like the Bang Bang, which is really dark. You can see how much I've used this one. This is another one that I have to use with a larger brush, and though I'm going to swatch it this way. And you can see another super pigmented one, another one that lasts all night, that I'm going to find that I still have blush on at the end of the night. I love cream blushes, as you know, and so Persona Cosmetics came out with these blush multi-sticks, and they came out with a new shade this year. I really liked their old ones. They looked really like, I think Kiss would look like baby pink, but when you put it on, it actually was a really pretty blush. So this one is called Jam, and it also is going to be like super, you know, pigmented color. But of course, that's perfect for me for the for my skin tone, and it does blend out. Of course, I would use my my number 17 brush. It does blend out to a beautiful, beautiful tone. An oldie but a goodie is my Wayne Goss, and the Bright Poppy is still my absolute favorite. I love this blush palette. It's on Beautylish. That's where you can find it. This is called Sunny, and this is called the Golden Glow. This is such a beautiful, beautiful blush. Super pigmented, a little bit coral undertones, pinky coral undertones. And this, I'm just going to put it next to it, even though we're not talking about highlighters. Look at how gorgeous that is. This I use as an eyeshadow. I mean, it is a highlighter, but I typically don't wear a lot of highlighters. But this blush is one of my favorites. Okay, and the next two I've talked about, well, I guess I haven't talked about the exact things, but I've talked about them fairly recently. And one is the Hourglass. These are the ambient light palettes. And I really like the Tiger, and I use that one a lot as eyeshadow, but the Butterfly I really like for the two blushes. So it has all these highlighters and strobe light powders and everything, which I don't use that often, but these blushes are gorgeous. And because, you know, you're kind of getting a mix with all the other blushes, I like to use a little angled, a really soft, swishy brush. This is the Refer 04. I know BK Beauty has one and Angie Hot and Flashy, but I kind of like usually do this kind of, you know, grab multiple colors and apply it with a little sheen. Again, it's kind of hard to see. I will put these two side by side. You can see the two right here are these two colors. Absolutely gorgeous. Again, you can see similar colorway. I do have a type or a shade of blush, which I find looks best on me. When I want to go browner or more neutral, like sometimes even wearing something like this, maybe I want to go a little more neutral, I tend to just use my bronzer as a blush and then just put a little bit of color right, you know, right here or maybe just on top. But I will, if I'm going for that more nude look, I will just use a bronzer as a blush instead of trying to find a more neutral color blush, because the neutral color blushes are usually too light on my skin. Okay, and then the last one I've talked about recently is the blushes in the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Look of Love in a palette, Glowing Beauty palette. Now, like I said, I did before Christmas, you could find this at Sam's Club online at a discount, but I think this one is still available on the Charlotte Tilbury website. And again, I do a mixing of the blush. I concentrate just on the blush, but I'll take a little bit of this bronzer. And I like to use a smaller brush again. This one is a BK Beauty 113, so it's a little flatter. This one's also really pretty for a highlighter. But I also really like it because it's small. If you have a palette and your blush is really tiny, this one fits in really nice to just get the color that you want. This is also one of those that is just recently being sold alone. This is a 113. You can see it right there. And then we'll put the kind of bronzy highlighter one next to it. And so those are my most used blushes of 2022. You can see I have a mix of drugstore, high-end. Usually when I'm choosing my blush, I think of two things. One, do I need it to last all day? And two, you know, what am I wearing? And so am I going to do a little bit cooler and have the plum shades, or do I want it a little bit warmer going into the berry shades? And that's kind of how I decide which blush to wear. The one I reach for out of all of them the most, and it's probably because it's the one that is sitting by my sink because I don't put it away. Most of my makeup is in another room in a bin, and I have to pull it out and sort through it to find the colors. But the one that stays in my bathroom right next to my sink is the Rare Beauty in Believe. So this one gets used the most because I'm lazy, and this is the one that seems to go with everything. Okay, did I talk about all my brushes? I did. I think today is the last day that I have Gus, my bird sitting, so hopefully you won't be hearing him tweeting in the background. He's been a very bad bird the last couple of days because I no longer can get him back in his cage unless I throw a towel or a pillowcase over him. I think he just got too comfortable in my place, and I was afraid of hurting him. I was not comfortable, you know, holding him under a towel, you know, to shove him back in the cage. So he actually has not been out for 2 days, so he'll be very glad to get to his giant cage back home, and you won't hear the tweeting in the background. Okay, I hope you all had a really great weekend and are having a great week. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.